Hey guys, what's going on? Joel here, and welcome to Back in the Day, and yes, I am back. It has been way too long. I'm honestly not going to apologize for my absence because I'm going to be completely honest. I just have not felt motivated. I haven't really wanted to do any videos, and it's always been in the back of my head, but it's just the complete lack of motivation. And I decided today, I got up, it's my day off, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do it. And ironically enough, I looked at my YouTube feed for my subscriptions, and I'd seen that Retro Reminiscence had uploaded a video. And, and Sean and I have talked quite a bit and just about how there's like no motivation with wanting to do videos, and because of life and just, shit's always so busy. So I figured, you know what, I need to get myself out of this slump, and I would just go ahead and I would make I'd make a video. And it's funny because I figured I would actually do something a little on the different side for an unboxing. One of my subscribers, and I apologize if I don't remember which one it was, had asked me if I would ever be doing like anything other than Nintendo or Super Nintendo or Game Boy. And I had mentioned, hey, I've got quite a few TurboGrafx16 games, and they said they'd be interested in that. So I figured, you know what, I'm going to do something a little bit interesting, and I'll do it. It's a small, I don't have the actual box that these came in, but I do have the jewel case and, whatever. So I figured something a little bit different, or the trip down memory lane. A little bit, just kind of like a little bit of an update in terms of how things have been going with me. Things have been going really well. Just work has been really busy, which is good. We finally did get the final remodel done with the interior of our house. The last bit was our bedroom, and then we had like a little small like hallway. That actually got finished up about a little over a week or so ago. So now everything, like the entire interior of our house, is completely remodeled. And when I say completely remodeled, I mean insulation, all new wiring, all new drywall, paint, moldings, like the whole 9 yards. So it's done, because our house was built in, I believe it was either 1954 or 1956. So and unbeknownst to us, when it was built, there was no insulation in this house at all. So finally, like, everything is up to date in terms of, like with electric and actually having insulation through the house. So now, starting next year, it's onto the outside, and the joys of home ownership, it never stops. So yeah, so I've got that, and just been kind of chilling out this year. I went to Maine to visit my dad, and while I was there, I took a trip down to Salem and was able to meet up with Legend of Retro. Tom, him and I have been friends on YouTube for years. We finally had the opportunity to meet up in real life. Had a great day just touring around Salem, seeing the history, and then doing some game hunting. So there was that. But now kind of, I guess now that things are done and we're heading into fall, I guess it's now no better time than now to go ahead and start maybe focusing on the channel and putting out some more videos. So with that being said, guys, let's go ahead and get into Keith Courage and Alpha Zones. So I believe I had told the story before of how I had a TurboGrafx16 for about 6 months during actually the fall of 1991. So what had happened, I was very amped for the Super Nintendo, but sometime in the summer, I became very enthused and very almost obsessed with the Sega Genesis, and with Sonic the Hedgehog in particular. And I wanted a Sega Genesis in the absolute worst way. So I figured, you know what? I'm going to get rid of my Nintendo and all my Nintendo games, and I'll use that money and I will buy a Sega Genesis. Well, I sold off my Nintendo, I got rid of all my games, and I think I only had, I'm going to say maybe like $70 or $80 total. And a Sega Genesis at the time, I think was around $150, maybe a little bit less. And so, I didn't know the price, so I remember one Sunday after church, Dad and I went to, there was a store in Rochester, New York called HORC Hobbies and Computers. And we went there, and they had the Sega Genesis along with some other stuff. And I remember actually they had a Super Famicom, and I remember playing Final Fight. I was just really like, because I loved Final Fight. It was one of my all-time favorite games, especially with pumping so many quarters into it in the arcade. Well, anyways, they had the Sega Genesis, and I didn't have enough money for it. And my dad had said, "Well, I'll tell you what." He said, "You've got $80 or whatever it was." He said, "I'll match that for Christmas, and I'll get you your mom and I'll get you a Sega Genesis for Christmas." I wasn't having it. I had to walk out of that store with something, and they had the TurboGrafx-16. So I thought, well, it's 16-bit. I'll get it. And that's what I did. I came home. I was not patient. I came home and I had the TurboGrafx-16. That's how I got it. Now, I do remember they did have a TurboGrafx-16 there, and I was playing it, and I remember playing, I believe it was Ninja Spirit, which I thought was really cool. And I remember asking them, when I bought the TurboGrafx, I said, "Hey, does it come with any games?" They said, "Yeah, today it comes with Keith Courage and Alpha Zones," which I didn't realize that was the actual pack-in game when you bought the TurboGrafx. But either way, I came home and I plugged it in, and I remember being very disappointed, but thinking, all right, well, hey, I've made my bed, now I have to lay in it. Now, that being said, Keith Courage and Alpha Zones was not a terrible game, and I think that the TurboGrafx has... It's gotten a resurgence in the past few years, and it's become a highly collectible system. I think simply because it was kind of very niche, but the games actually, a lot of them were pretty good. And this was Keith Courage and Alpha Zones. I wouldn't say was great, but it wasn't terrible. So. From what I understand, it was actually most of the TurboGrafx library were arcade ports. But yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at Keith Courage and Alpha Zones and see what it came with. I did always find it very interesting that they came in these little jewel cases. So the actual game itself, I love how these were called cue cards. I always thought they were so cool looking. I mean, this was a very innovative way to load a game. Or, have a game cartridge. Let's say on the back of that, it's hard. Do not bend, drop, subject to shock. Keep away from static electricity, heat, water, direct sunlight. Please put back in the case after you play. That's great. Like, who would have thought that a game would come on something, just basically the size of a credit card? And I remember it came with this little comic book telling you the story of Keith Courage and what the Alpha Zones were and the Omega suit. I believe it was called the Omega suit. How Keith's father developed the suit, and like it was kind of hokey, but it was I don't know. It was interesting. Interesting to say the least. So let's take a look at the instruction manual. Oh, the 90s. You were Keith Courage, stuck in a part of the meteor. You guys are going to have to excuse me. My eyesight is getting really, really bad. Like, at some point, this is the joys of getting old. I'm probably at some point going to need bifocals, so yeah. But the organization you go up against is bad alien dudes. But then you had it's interesting how these were illustrated very much like a lot of the old NES instruction manuals. What made this different was it was in basically a CD jewel case. But I mean, you got to figure. I mean, the Turbo Pad was like almost the identical carbon copy of the NES controller. The one thing that I remember about this game in particular was a lot of... I mean, you did have to grind in the overworld in order to gain money to get better swords. And I mean, it was just constantly having to... these little kitties that would float and then come down, and you'd have to... I mean, I know these are... Like, in the Japanese culture, the Oriental culture, in particular, like these have some sort of these cats have some sort of a significance. I'm not 100% certain what, but so many of the enemies were just very interesting looking, to say the least. I mean, this wasn't a terrible game, but it wasn't great either. I remember making it to the last boss, and I could not beat him though. But many hours spent playing this game. So yeah, there it is. Keith Courage in Alpha Zones. So yeah, guys. I mean, it's kind of a lame little unboxing, but I mean, what do you expect with a TurboGrafx-16? I mean, you're not going to get much. It wasn't like the NES where you had a bunch of, literature and, posters and things of that nature. So I hope you guys enjoy this. It's glad to be back, and I will catch you guys on the next video. Later.